Okay, now my painting has dried, just even for a couple minutes it helps, and certainly if you're using acrylic paints or markers, um, yours should be on the dry side. And this is a point in time where I look at what I've created, the playfulness that I've created, and just allow myself to focus in on what are some areas that I really like and what are some areas that I might like to conceal a little bit more. I think of it as this dance between revealing, concealing, rather than think of it as like, oh, I don't like this at all and it's bad. I put that thought out of my mind, but I think, well, what are areas that I love? And then how can I guide the other supporting actors and actresses in those areas? So for example, I'm looking at the painting here and I'm thinking, I love this down here. I love the pathway, at least in my mind, it's a pathway that's leading me up here. And I love these cool colors that are developing. This is a bit of, it's detracting from this sort of cool melodic scene. And this is a little bit detracting and distracting, I should say. So I'm gonna focus a little bit on, well, what can I do to these? Let me just ever so subtly see if I can tone those down. And I'll tell you the first thing that I'm gonna do is try to alter the color a little bit. And you see when I apply paint, whatever material you're using, I would encourage you to, again, just in the spirit of playfulness, I'm not necessarily covering this entire section. I'm allowing the paints to mix on the page. Now I'm using my tool in a way that I hadn't planned. I'm sort of scratching in here and just seeing what happens. Okay. That helps some. How can I deal with this spot here in a way that might feel a little bit more harmonious to my painting? Let me just play with that for a minute. And again, I don't know sometimes if the colors are going to work until I get them on the page. I'll tell you what I love here is this color. This green color is drawing my eye in, and I just decided spontaneously that I needed to add some of that in. You see, I'm not wed to the original composition. I don't think there was a light area here originally, but this green color is so beautiful, it can lead my eye through the painting. So I'm gonna just mix some more of that up. That was not enough of it. Super beautiful. And let me see what I've got. Some more on the blue side. I'm definitely not afraid to just get in there and begin experimenting and exploring. Okay, that helped some. Just gonna keep going. Sometimes what happens is I fidget and I fiddle and I respond to certain areas and then I let it dry and take a step back. So what I'm hoping to provide you with is lots of tools and ideas that you can use, because your painting, this process is not paint by number, it is an intuitive process, and your painting is going to be a reflection of you and different than mine, and isn't that wonderful? So I am going to show you some of my thought process and some of my tricks and tools, and hopefully you can use those for your own exploration and exciting paintings. And I do have a Facebook group, as I mentioned, and I would really love to see your work on that Facebook group. I'd love for you to share it. I'd love to see what you came up with, and it's a really great place to be a part of a supportive and growing artist community. I would love, 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 love for you to be a part of that. I just went back in over here, the red I was finding a little bit distracting. So I put some of that green on top of it. I'm loving this, which in my mind is the pathway, so I'm just gonna go over that a little bit more. Sometimes I have the tool that I'm using go in the direction or in the movement of the area that I'm painting, and I'm mimicking that with this, when I'm envisioning to be this pathway. So I'm thinking about this area here. Sometimes in the foreground, there are really beautiful kind of grasses and areas that sort of pop up in front of rocks, and I'm wondering about creating a color that can help me remember that and be reminiscent of that. I'm wondering about that, so I'm just gonna see. Again, this may or may not work. I'm just gonna dig in here with my palette knife, and without actually painting the grasses or each individual blade, I am, again, working with the illusion of detail. So I put some of that in right there. I think that helps. I might decide, let me see what happens if I put a little bit of that in on the other side. My palette knife is not cooperating, so let me see what happens if I change my tool. What happens if I come in with this? Maybe that will be helpful, and I like how some of that red showed through. That was beautiful. Okay, I'm going to leave that for now. Okay, that's actually, it's getting there in my mind. Just thinking about this area. Adding some potential richness. Movement to that. In a second, I'm going to stop and take a step back and make some final tweaks to it potentially, and see what you all have come up with, because I'm curious. Just want to add one more little spark of excitement right there. Often there's a couple things that can lead the viewer's eye around the painting. Composition is certainly one of them, and the colors that we choose and how we choose the colors is certainly part of that too. I talk a lot about that in the classes that I offer. But needless to say, the tools that I've given you just now are definitely a start that you can use to achieve some really great results, and I do look forward to seeing what you all have come up with. I was just thinking about leading the viewer's eye a little bit more in that direction, and in order to do so, I was hoping to get a pop of lightness up there. or brightness. I might have to come back to that. Think about it. Okay, so right now what I'm going to do, I think, is let this rest and step away from the painting. I take a picture of it. And I just ask myself again, what am I loving? Is there a way for the stars of the show to be supported more by the supporting actor? What are the areas that I really love, that I want to accentuate on? What are the areas that might need a little toning down? And I just let it be for a moment. And what I'm going to do right now is play with this, turn the camera off, answer any questions, and then I'll let it sit for a moment, take the tape off, and then I'll show you the end result that I've come up with. And again, really look forward to seeing what you've come up with. I hope we stay in touch. I'm really happy and honored that you chose to spend your time to paint with me. It's truly one of my greatest pleasures to share the joy of creativity and painting with others, and I hope this inspires you to not only paint because you're enjoying the process, but perhaps you'll decide to share this spirit of creativity and share your paintings with others. Okay, I'll see you in a minute.